I could freestyle about it, preach about it, or go off top of the head. But today I bought my notes so I could resurrect the dead. Yeah! Greetings and blessings to my navigators of the seven seas. I am your locksmith, your symbologist, and metaphysical tour guide, Flat Archie 5000. And I'm back with another one as we navigate through the land of Pioneer. Today we're going to unlock your Solomon's Temple to explore the resurrection of Hiram Abiff. So as always, strap on your helmet and buckle up your spacesuit because we're on a mental voyage and we're about to take off before the walls of Jericho come crumbling down. In the tradition of entering Solomon's Temple, we must use a meditative master key to help us stay on the path of enlightenment. It is these divine words that have a literal, allegorical, and metaphysical message attached to them when understood in its proper context. So today we give honors and respect to a worthy mastermind known as George Washington Carver, who once said, "When you do common things in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world." Let me repeat it one more time for those of you who may have failed to receive your 40 acres and a mule. Our good brother and master teacher, who is infamously revered as a wide agriculturalist, scientist, and inventor, known respectfully as George Washington Carver, said, "When you do common things in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world." Go on and meditate on that. And click your heels 3 times while I ring this bell of enlightenment for that powerful meditative key of wisdom as you enter the corridors of your Solomon's Temple. Let's get to it, shall we? No time to waste. Okay, my masterminds of Solomon's Temple, I'm going to start this second presentation off by demonstrating a chapter in the life of Hiram Abiff in a story form before we deep dive into the esoteric interpretation of this science and history. I find that when I use this method of explaining certain degrees of information, it tends to resonate better with the audience. You can actually get a better glimpse into the era of time in which I'm referring to, while being able to tap into the frequency of energy that embodies the spirit of that specific moment, when events started to shape themselves into form. So with that said, let us trace ourselves back through the annals of time, when we created things by the power of our thoughts through the divine will. Thus, let me remind you that in the ancient land of Babylon, there lived a renowned architect and master craftsman named Hiram Abiff. Hiram was known far and wide for his skill and artistry in building magnificent temples and palaces for kings and rulers. But beyond his talent, Hiram possessed a wisdom and spirituality that set him apart from his peers. As Hiram became famous, the word of his deeds and monumental works began to spread throughout the ancient world. Whispers of his talent and unimaginable skill through craftsmanship began to spread far and wide. So much so, his fame eventually reached the courtyards of King Solomon. So one day, Hiram received a special commission from King Solomon to build a grand temple in Jerusalem in honor and commemoration of the God of Israel. Excited and filled with purpose, Hiram embarked on a monumental task of creating a structure that would stand as a testament to divine craftsmanship and beauty. Thus, when Solomon, king of Israel, undertook the building of the temple in Jerusalem, he sent to Hiram, king of Tyre, for materials and assistance in exchange for agricultural products like corn, wine, oil, and things of that nature. King Hiram sent Solomon cedar trees cut from the forests of Lebanon and a skilled and cunning worker in metals. Keep in mind, my mighty navigators of the seven seas, Hiram is referred to as the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, whose husband was a man of Tyre. Hiram called Abiff which is simply a Hebrew expression for father, a term of respect, worked for King Solomon at Jerusalem, not only in casting all of metallic ornaments for the temple, but also as a master of the works, a superintending architect. To help pull off this magnanimous feat, Hiram hired more than 85,000 workmen, whom were the most skilled across the land, to assist with his undertaking. These talented men had knowledge of universal law and principles, but bore no title of prestige. As Hiram meticulously laid out the blueprint, these craftsmen were employed in the building of the temple, which was expected to take approximately 7 years to complete. To those workmen who labored faithfully on the project was promised the status of master workman or mason upon its completion. As the days passed, Hiram poured his heart and soul into the temple, channeling his creativity and devotion into every intricate detail. The temple began to take shape, its walls rising like a beacon of light in the midst of the city. But some time before the temple's completion, some of the workmen became dissatisfied and demanded the promotion which they had been promised. Not being organized like modern employees and being used to the harsher and more brutal modes of direct action characteristic of the more primitive times in which they lived, they sought the higher wages and fringe benefits of a master workman by conspiring to extort them from Hiram Abiff. In spite of their violent threats, Hiram steadfastly refused to yield to their demands, reminding them of their obligations to King Solomon and his God. He resolutely insisted that they honor the contracts by which he and they were bound. However, jealousy and greed lurked in the shadows of the construction site. 3 of Hiram's fellow craftsmen, who were more brutal and headstrong than the rest of the mob gang, were envious of his talent and reputation, conspired to steal the secrets of his craft. Thus, they approached Hiram, demanding that he reveal the hidden knowledge that had made him so skilled. But Hiram, wise and humble, refused to be betrayed by his sacred trust. He knew that the secrets that he held were not meant for personal gain, but for the greater good of all who sought to create and build with purpose and integrity. Enraged by his defiance, the 3 craftsmen attacked Hiram, seeking to force the knowledge from his lips. Thus, in a rage of chaos and struggle that ensued, Hiram was struck down, his lifeblood staining the sacred ground of the temple he had so lovingly crafted. The news of his death spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the kingdom and beyond. As people mourned the loss of their beloved architect, a group of master masons came together to honor Hiram's memory and preserve his legacy. They vowed to ensure that his wisdom and spirit would live on, transcending the limitations of the physical world. And so, through ancient rites and mystical rituals, the master masons worked tirelessly to resurrect Hiram Abiff from the depths of death and oblivion. Guided by the light of divine truth and the power of sacred symbols, they called upon the forces of the universe to bring Hiram back to life. These rituals that were pursued were the embodiment of ancient African spirituality that secretly found its way through foreign lands. These sacred initiates, whom had knowledge of the lion's paw, the master's grip, were deemed worthy of the secrets of life and death. In a moment of awe-inspiring wonder, Hiram rose from his slumber, his eyes shining with a newfound clarity and purpose. He stood before his astonishing brethren, a symbol of rebirth and transformation, a living testament to the eternal nature of the soul. With a heart full of gratitude and humility, Hiram Abiff embraced his resurrection, knowing that he had been granted a second chance to fulfill his destiny and continue his quest for spiritual enlightenment. From that day forward, he dedicated himself to sharing his wisdom and teachings with all those who sought the path of truth and inner illumination. Let me ring the bell for that. That's for Hiram Abiff. And so, the legend of Hiram Abiff lived on, a timeless tale of death and rebirth, of sacrifice and resurrection, of wisdom and transcendence in the hearts and minds of those who heard his story. Hiram became a symbol of hope and inspiration, a guiding light on the journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. And in the hidden temples and sacred chambers of the occultists, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff continued to be celebrated and revered, a mystical allegory of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a reminder of the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and soar to new heights of consciousness and enlightenment. Question to my mighty master builders: who is the true master mason? Thus, can the riddle of the mason be solved by the sacred question being asked? Are you willing to be tried and never denied and tried again? Answer: in occultism, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff is a symbolic and allegorical concept that holds significant spiritual and esoteric meaning. It is based on the legend of being upright through thought, actions, and deeds, by using the tools of the carpenter to build up character. Thus, man as a central figure is said to have been a skilled architect and master craftsman responsible for building King Solomon's temple. This temple is not an external temple composed of brick and mortar, but yet it is considered to be the temple of man. Thus, the riddle of the Sphinx can be finally solved by asking the second question: what goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Thus, the legend of Hiram Abiff represents the journey of the soul through spiritual enlightenment, death, and rebirth. The resurrection of Hiram is seen as a metaphor for the process of spiritual transformation and transcendence, where the individual undergoes a symbolic death of the ego and is reborn into a higher state of consciousness. Let's ring the bell for that. One interpretation of the resurrection of Hiram Abiff in occultism is that it is here that we see the representation of the cycles of life, death, and rebirth that is inherent in all living beings. Just as Hiram was killed and later raised from the dead, so too do individuals experience different stages of growth, transformation, and renewal throughout their lives. This resurrection is a symbol of the eternal nature of the soul and its ability to transcend physical limitations. Furthermore, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff can be seen as a representation of the alchemical process of spiritual transformation. In alchemy, the concept of death and rebirth is central to the idea of transmutation, where base metals is transformed into gold. Similarly, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff symbolizes the individual's journey from a state of spiritual ignorance and impurity to one of enlightenment and purity. From a psychological perspective, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff can be interpreted as a metaphor for the process of individualization and self-realization. In the Jungian psychology, individuals refer to the process of becoming aware of one's true self and integrating all aspects of the psyche into a harmonious whole. The resurrection of Hiram Abiff represents the transcendence of the ego and the integration of the shadow self, leading to a sense of wholeness and spiritual fulfillment. In addition, my mighty master builders, the resurrection of Hiram Abiff can be viewed as a symbol of the eternal quest for knowledge and wisdom. Just as Hiram sought to uncover the secrets of his craft and build a magnificent temple, so too do individuals strive to unlock the mysteries of the universe and attain enlightenment. Thus, as masterminds, one must take note that the resurrection of Hiram symbolizes the eternal search for truth and the transformative power of knowledge. Ultimately, take note that the resurrection of Hiram Abiff in occultism is a complex and multifaceted concept that holds deep spiritual significance. It serves as a potent symbol of spiritual transformation, enlightenment, and rebirth, reminding individuals of the eternal nature of the soul and the endless pursuits of self-realization. By contemplating the allegorical story of Hiram Abiff, occultists seek to deepen their understanding of the mysteries of life and death and cultivate a deeper connection to the divine. So as always, in Solomon's Temple, I leave you in peace with these powerful words. Be wary of those who seek to do as others do and say what others say, without using their own compass and measuring stick to bring about their own manifestations. Let me repeat that golden nugget one more time for those of you who may still be asleep in the coffin, who may just very well need the lion's grip to be resurrected. The divine memo states, be wary of those who seek to do as others do and say what others say, without using their own compass and measuring stick to bring about their own manifestations. Ashe, ashe, ashe.